you're back.
Gosh.
And you're moving.
I'm moving.
Yes.
Well, that's a start. Okay. Well, you want to talk about rutabagas and turnips?
Well, it comes into jack-o'-lanterns in general.
Yes, you do, except that
you're breaking up and you're going in slow now.
Are you all right?
Are we actually working or are we not? I'm fine. How are you?
I don't know at the moment. I think I'm just going to turn everything off except this and go for it. Right. So shall we talk about rutabagas and such like?
I've got a note on. I've got several notes actually. I've sat and poked around the web a bit and done things.
Right. Other than that, I don't like rutabagas because they're too tough.
Yeah, but it is the traditional thing around here.
Yes, of course. Yeah, because you don't do
pumpkin is even the rutabaga or the neep or the swede or whatever you want to call it only seems to have come into existence in the 1600s. So it's first recorded in 1620. It's in Finland, I believe, or somewhere in Scandinavia. So I'm wondering what on earth people used before that.
Yeah, because they certainly didn't have pumpkins.
No, they're even younger.
Exactly.
It's an intriguing question, really. The skull of those enemies, perhaps, suitably treated.
Or maybe they just didn't do it.
That's possible. I have come across a reference to a bloke in a sheet with a horse skull on a pole who went around local farms demanding food with a gang of youths.
What date is that?
That's 1600s in lowland Scotland.
Right. Because, of course, we were doing that kind of thing, but not at this time of year. A hell of a long time before.
Also in Southern Ireland. And there's a Gaelic name for it. It's called the Levan, the White Mare. Which is
the same as our Mary Lloyd.
Yes, though again, different time of year.
Yeah.
It was also known as Mischief Night from at least the 1500s.
Ah, yes. And the Lord of Misrule. We
don't seem to have had the Lord of Misrule at Halloween in Scotland anyway. That seems to be more a Yule midwinter thing.
Well, yes, it was, but that's true. It is a Yule thing, isn't it? It's not Halloween.
Whereas Mischief Night is what we these days call trick or treating.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. But all of that is sort of, relatively speaking, late.
It is. I mean, going further back, this is actually the time of year when you bring your cattle down from the summer pasture.
Exactly.
So we've got transhumance, we've got choosing your winter stock, so you're going to have feasts because you're slaughtering.
Yeah.
The whole village is getting back together after the youngsters have been off in the fields frolicking with the cattle all summer. So you're going to have feasts and bonfires. I've got a couple of references to all the fires in the village being put out and relit off a communal bonfire.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
Which comes again at Immelk. Not Immelk, Beltane.
And that certainly went on down our way, and I mean, it even went on in the 50s.
Ireland and Scotland, going back to the sort of 1400s.
Yeah, and you'd have the firelighter go round.
Yeah. Twin bonfires, and you put your stock between them, same as Beltane again.
We had that more just at Beltane, less at this time of year, because you were going to eat them anyway. I think we ought to stop a minute, because you said something that I understand, but I expect lots of people aren't going to, and that's transhumance.
Yes, we need to talk about that.
Yeah.
So known as taking the cattle to the shealing.
In your land, yes. I couldn't say.
I don't know what it would be called down south.
No.
I shouldn't think it's happened in England for quite a long time, possibly to some extent Dartmoor, Exmoor.
Yeah, yeah.
You keep the stock on the in-by land.
Yeah.
Lowland
and a bit in Wales, and probably a bit in the Pennines, and possibly Cheshire.
Parts of Cheshire run into the Pennines, so yes.
Yes.
Lowland Cheshire, no.
No, you wouldn't need to.
A lot of Cheshire is as flat as a pancake.
Yeah, this is true.
Having been born and grown up there.
Yeah. But the Pennine bit is really a mountains thing. Because I mean, if you really want to see it,
yes,
now, you need to go to France.
Switzerland.
Yes.
They still do it in Switzerland.
And they do it in the Ardèche.
Yes, anywhere where there's mountains.
Yeah, because then they still do it. They still do it properly in France.
I saw something on Facebook the other day, a parade of cows coming down off the some pastures in Switzerland.
Yeah,
cowbells.
Yeah, yeah,
And
they do that down in the Pyrenees. I've got one of the cowbells.
Yeah. It was wiped out here in the agricultural revolution because of the enclosure of the commons.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
If you haven't got commons, you can't put your livestock on them.
No, no.
Rocky, if you don't lie down, I'm going to get cross. Go and lie down now. She's trying to steal rabbit food out of the bags. In your bed. I can't get under the
Excuse us, we have this dog thing. They're very gorgeous.
Yes.
They're very sweet.
Right. No, in the bed, please. Go on. I'm getting the evil eye off the dog.
I know this evil eye. I have been under it on occasion.
She's looking at me and going, I can't get this quilt to get up. Put that thing on the floor and come and sort my quilt. I'm not putting the rabbit on the floor just to sort your quilt. Deal with it. You're a duvet dog.
And anyway,
you're feeling
the rabbit on the floor, one of the other, either she or the other dog will have the rabbit.
Possibly, though they seem to have got the idea that he is actually a pet. And I do want him round. There is this strange, incredulous look in their faces. They go, really? Why?
Really? What has she got a rabbit for? We eat them.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But no, it's going to be worse when you've got two. But no, we have this thing where, and I mean, it's ever so, I mean, you must see it in the Sami. You definitely do see it in Canada.
Yes.
And there is actually on YouTube a lovely YouTube video of these people who followed them, because it's something that actually we didn't invent. The animals do it.
Oh yes, it's the migration.
Yeah, this is following
migration.
This is the real.
We interfere with it and shove them into fields and pastures and stables and barns for the winter.
Yeah, but these are what they do naturally.
And naturally, they go from the lowland, the sheltered places further south in winter. And then in summer, they move north and exploit all that lovely unoccupied grass.
Yeah, which is also a lot less full of midges.
Yes, and intestinal parasites and all the other nasties.
All the other nasties, and they know that. And but in the winter, of course, they've got all the shelter of the forests, and the snow's not going to be thick enough that they can actually paw the ground away.
And they can browse on twigs and roots and bark when they run.
Which is what cattle do. I mean, cattle are not supposed to eat grass all the time.
Horses either. No. 10% of your horse's diet should be browse, which basically means let them raid the hedge. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're much better for it. Their stomachs are much better for it and everything like that. So
the bunny here knows that he's supposed to not eat pure grass. He has access to oat sprouts every day, but he also eats parsley, chicory, dandelion, plantain, things like that. Yeah. So he has quite a mixed diet. He's not just eating grass.
Yeah. So all of this idea that we have that fields are necessary, because you can't have cows without fields, is sort of like, no, it's just for convenience. Human convenience.
Every now and again on Facebook, I see references to a cow somewhere in the USA who broke out of her field, I think the day before the entire lot was supposed to be sent for slaughter, and has taken up the wild bison herd and lives in the wild quite happily. Thank you very much.
Good girl. Absolutely. Yeah. Go for it. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they seem happy with her and she seems happy with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, she's like enough that they're not going to be too fussed.
Yeah.
And so it's really worth thinking about this, and that actually where we see transhumance, like in Switzerland or in southern France or in the Pyrenees or probably in Spain, I've not been to see, but they probably did. Canada, probably Russia, all these places.
Certainly with the reindeer herds.
Absolutely.
Reindeer herding people will definitely be migratory.
Oh, they do, yeah. Yes. Because they still follow.
Yes.
Reindeer, you can't really tame a reindeer.
Not to that extent.
And when you do, they usually get sick and die quite quickly, as people who want to use them for Christmas discover fairly fast. But it's a real thing. It's this change of the season. And so you have it once at Samhain, And that's when everything comes down the hill and goes to live in the shelter and in the forest where there's plenty to eat.
It's also a good time for them to come down because you've cleaned the fields, you've brought the harvest in.
Yep.
And they can go out on the stubble.
Yep.
And eat the aftermath and all the weeds that have grown under the crop.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, it's an ideal time to bring them down at the end of summer.
And when they do go out in the stubble, of course, as they used to sort of in medieval times, then they muck the ground and they also walk on it, which moves the muck in and moves the weeds out. So they're actually working the ground partly for you, which they do actually quite a lot better than we do.
We still to some extent do that in some areas in Scotland. I think probably the Pennines as well, because the sheep farmers bring the flocks down off the hills.
Yeah.
And this time of year, a lot of the fields around me are filling up with sheep. And these are hill sheep.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've been brought down off Sutherland and Caithness. They'll be fattened up on lowland fields around Aberdeenshire. And then by spring or Christmas, they'll be hanging on a hook in a butcher's shop.
More than likely. Yeah. 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 So yes, we do use it. So that is really going back to what this season was about.
Yes, and that I think must have been the case since at least the Neolithic, which is the start of farming.
And probably before that, because when you're following the herds, as you used to, like with horses or reindeer or bison, back into the Palaeolithic, so that you follow.
Yes, but there you're moving from being nomadic rather than being a transhuman society.
Well, yeah, what I'm saying is that the animals were doing the dance, and we followed.
Yes.
And so you weren't in charge of it, the animals were.
Yes.
But you followed it because it worked.
Yes.
And so you changed from, summer to winter, and then winter to summer back again. So that's what we're doing.
I think that's where some of the original rituals to do with Samhain have come up.
Yeah.
Such as bringing your stock home in the autumn.
Yeah.
Well, during the summer, all the younger men and ladies have been up in the high pastures together.
Yeah.
Which is, curiously enough, why so many marriages happen this time of year. They've come back. You've got families coming together. You're going to want to throw a party.
Yeah, and you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, because you'll want some meat, and we've both done smoking meat and otherwise preserving meat.
Yeah, no, it goes much further than that, and that is the fact that you cannot grow enough fodder to keep your stock through the winter.
No.
So you only keep the breeding stock through the winter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which means all the excess stock has to be slaughtered this time of year while it's fat, before
and
it
then preserved and used, and all the bones and the skins and everything used.
But there are bits of any animal that you can't preserve. So you throw a feast.
Yeah.
Use them up.
Yeah.
Enjoy it while you can.
Absolutely. And so that's what we're about.
We're back to a party. So we have people coming
to any party.
We've got feasting.
Any party, idiots.
Yes.
They're going to have fun.
Yes.
And put a bag of flour on the top of the door so that when Dad walks in, it falls on his head, and that sort of thing.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a very modern
one because the bag of flour in the old days would have been a sack. Dad would have come out with a broken
neck. Dad wouldn't come out of it very well. I was thinking one of these sort of little jobs that you buy in the store.
Yeah. Yeah. The medieval version of that
was like, can't you?
The medieval version of that was to put a peat over the top of the chimney.
Yeah. That's not nice. That
isn't nice, but
no.
You end up with a fairly well-kippered family. Yes.
Or there's the other one, which is a reasonably modern one and happens at weddings as well, is you actually tie the kipper to the exhaust pipe of the couple's car.
I believe the modern one is to put a banana up the tailpipe.
That's not very good either, but the kipper on the pipe
smells.
Stinks. And because they're in front of it, They don't know what's going on behind them for a little while.
Until they stop and get out and open the
Yeah.
windows.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Do you realize we're actually encouraging people to do mean and evil things to people?
Well, probably not this year.
Most people won't. No, this is true.
So I have seen some fascinatingly creative ways of getting around this. People are putting little bags of sweets on clothes areas outside their front doors, so that the neighbourhood children, when they're coming round, doing what's now called trick or treating, but used to be known as mischief night, can avoid close contact with other people because of COVID, but still get their tricks and treats.
Yeah, yeah, that's very good.
It's nice to see people working on it and adapting.
Yeah, and it's very good because I mean the kids like it because it's a chance to be absolutely frightful and awful and dress up
and get sweets
a lot and get sweets. So yeah, it's a good idea, that, and it is good to see people adapting. Yes,
I mean, when I was a child, we used to go around on foot and do it.
Yeah,
my daughter went off with a bucket over her handlebars on her bike. I went around the village with a friend, and they came back a couple of times to empty out their buckets.
My God.
Yeah.
I must admit, I know your daughter, and yes, I can see that. Yeah. Well, everybody else stands back amazed. Yeah. But yeah.
But yeah, there's references to people, not so much children, but they're described in the sources as youths. So they're probably the younger unmarried men of the village.
Yeah.
Going around the district with a bloke at the front dressed in a white sheet with a horse skull on a pole. And basically going around and demanding money and food from farmers.
Yeah.
If they provided food, then that was great. They got good luck for the year, and if they didn't, then mysteriously bad things happened.
Can't think why. No. I must admit, Mary Lloyd is not usually as bad as that, and never really has been. But you do go around and you riddle and you trick and you riddle.
Yes.
And they do actually still use the Mary Lloyd, don't they, down at Boscastle?
Yes.
Which is
where we would normally be at this time of year.
Where we would, yes. And next year we're booked in, so we hope to go there.
Yes.
We're going to be able to. But yeah, no, that's amazing. And it's actually a sort of Mary Lloyd feast, isn't it?
It is. It's brilliant. There's several Mary Lloyds turn up.
Yeah.
All dancing in and out of places and going into the Museum of Witchcraft.
Yeah.
And having been in the Museum of Witchcraft, I'm amazed they can fit those horses in there. It's not a big place.
No, I think the horses are very careful.
Horse skull on a pole. It's what, 7 or 8 feet tall?
Well, 7 anyway. Yeah. It depends. Some of them are and some of them are less. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it probably depends who's holding the pole.
It does.
Yes. So it's quite a feat getting around the museum with one of these contraptions.
I'll try and put some pictures up in the comments of this, because it's absolutely gorgeous, the pictures, and the people really work hard. And this is not just, I mean, children are involved, but it's not just for the children, it's for the grown-ups as well.
Well, it's very much for the grown-ups, and all the Morris teams turn up.
Yeah.
4 or 5 Morris teams, mostly.
Morris sides, dear. Can we have sides?
Okay, you're down south.
Yes.
I grew up on the northern edge of the tradition in Cheshire.
And we have cloggy teams.
Teams up there.
But no, they're sides. Anyway, we have groups of Morris dancers, usually wild and beautifully blacked up, and dancing madly. And there you have other, I mean, they've had cloggies down there, and they've had the Welsh dancers.
We've had processions with torches.
Yeah.
We've had singers in doing chants.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's absolutely magical.
Yeah.
Huge kudos to the people who organise it and do it. We're only there as spectators.
And they really do too. But if you want to go, I suggest you try and find yourself a room now for next year.
Yes.
We've got one, and you're not having ours.
We will be barricading the door.
Oh, too right. But that popular now, and people, I mean, people go and stay in the towns and villages quite a way round and come in. If you come in, it means a bit of hiking because Boscastle's very small and very narrow little streets, and there's only so much parking, and so they've organised with the farmers 2 or 3 fields, but they're up. I mean, the hill's like this, isn't it?
Oh yes, it's not quite as vertical as a fjord, but it's close.
Well, yeah, when you're actually walking down the harbour, it does feel like a fjord. It really is a windy cliff, but the hill you've got to walk down is fine going. It's getting back to your car.
Going back up in the evening after a long day.
It's like, I think I'll just sleep in the hedge.
Yeah. Which is cold this time of year. There you go.
Mind you, there's so many of you, we'd probably all pile up and keep each other warm.
What isn't at the bottom doesn't.
No, quite so. But it and it's not the only one. There are other places that do feasts now, as we used to do, using our old songs and dances and customs and stories and everything. Yeah. So, keep an eye out over the coming year and see what you can find, because there's more and more of it. We all want it.
It's the slow process of reclaiming our heritage.
Absolutely.
I think to some extent we're still fighting off Oliver Cromwell and the Puritans, who cancelled Christmas.
Yes.
And we're still trying to get back off that.
Yes. Now, I thought it was the Sheriff of Nottingham who cancelled Christmas.
The Sheriff of Nottingham in the film of Robin Hood did cancel Christmas, but it was actually Oliver Cromwell who physically.
I know, but I mean, the Sheriff of Nottingham just got in a bit ahead of him. But I cannot remember the guy's name, but I absolutely adore that film because of him.
Alan Rickman.
That's it, Alan Rickman. He's absolutely fantastic.
Was a brilliant actor. Yes.
Totally brilliant.
Much missed.
Yeah, and very much missed. And it's you just fall about. And it's another bit which I'm not sure whether they've cut now, but one of his guards has failed for the 15th time to catch Robin. And so he just goes, oh, bother, and swipes the guy's head off. And then turns around and says, you can't get the staff.
Yes. He was a brilliant villain when it came to the first of the Bruce Willis movies. Oh,
I mean, that is so worth watching for that as well. Yeah. But they're all good in that because they're all funny.
Yes.
And they're all very, very good indeed, including Bruce himself. So
things people will go to get a family Christmas.
Exactly. You really wonder, don't you? However, we're not at Christmas yet. We are still at Samhain. So what we're hoping, aren't we, to do something or another and put ourselves up somehow or another with some sort of ideas on Dear Trot's Trial?
What we're going to do for Samhain. We always do something for Samhain.
We do.
There's always some sort of little celebration we do at home for ourselves.
Yes.
In our own pagan little ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me, it usually involves some candles.
Yeah.
Some nice incense.
Yeah.
Host a glass or two to the memory of anyone who's died in the year.
Absolutely.
Family, whatever. What are you doing?
Isn't
it? Stealing the show again.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, mine does too. It usually involves fire of some sort. Like you, we've got a wood stove here, which works very well. And some mulled something or another.
Yes.
We usually have. And occasionally I sort of join you up where you are and bring out one of my single malts and sit there just going sip.
Once you need, you have to order some soup. But,
yes, we have that.
Yeah. It usually involves alcohol and fire.
Yeah.
And some sort of celebration of the dead.
Yeah.
Because of course it's a liminal time. It's a time between seasons.
And it's a time when you can actually reach across much more easily than at, I think, really any other season.
Yes. It's a time when the year itself is dying.
It is. Yeah.
We're moving from summer, we've had harvest, we're going into winter, and winter, of course, is asleep. Yeah. It's a death.
Well, it is above ground, yes.
Yes.
And
well, it's asleep in some extent below ground. It's more of a time of dreaming.
dreaming next year into existence.
Yes.
Really.
So Samhain is the natural time to cross the boundaries.
Yeah, indeed. And it feels like, and all the stories, I think quite a lot of it around the world say that at this time, because it's the other way up if you're in the southern hemisphere, but at this time, whenever it is for you, the other world sort of says, okay, come on then, we'll party with you.
Mm.
And that's another tradition that we've always had, is that you put out food and drink for the ancestors.
Yes.
At night. And you must do this if you want your house blessed, your land blessed.
Yes.
Otherwise,
just note, don't put out milk. It's really bad for the wildlife.
Yes, yeah. And preferably don't put out alcohol, because that's not particularly good for wildlife either.
If you want to put out food for the wildlife, then cat food seems to go down okay with everything.
Just about everything does. I mean, hedgehogs will eat it and everything, and birds don't mind having it, which is useful to know. So a bit of cat food, and actually just plain water, your own water.
Yes.
Water is very special.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and people sort of say, oh, let's have a glass of water. But it isn't. It's actually very special.
It is special, yes.
And Fiona you live on your own spring. I don't anymore.
Yes.
If you happen to be lucky and live on your own spring, of course, you've got your land's water, your own land's water, which is lovely. But yes, water and cat food mice eat cat food.
Yes. I don't know. I don't think cat food is harmful to anything that wants to eat it.
I don't think so, no.
Whereas milk will actually kill hedgehogs.
Yeah, and several other things probably too. Yeah. The other thing and don't put bread out either.
No, don't put bread out.
No, bread's bad for everything.
Yes.
Probably you too, but it's certainly bad for wildlife.
Certainly bad for the wildlife. But some seeds.
Yeah, seeds. And Fiona's temporarily frozen, so she'll come back in a minute, because this happened earlier, but I'm sure she'll be back. So I should carry on. So yes, put some seeds out. Don't put whole nuts out. Don't put whole peanuts out.
No.
Because you can choke things with a whole peanut. But you
make sure whatever you put them on, if you want to put them in a dish, make sure it's something that small animals can get into and out of.
Yeah, sort of wide. Have I got anything wide and flat? I haven't really, but a sort of wide, flat, saucery type thing.
Yes, potting tray with a rock in the middle to weight it down.
Or the little things you put your plant in.
Yes.
Indoors, little plastic.
Plant saucers. Yes.
Plant saucers, that sort of thing, and then everything can get into it if it wants.
And out again.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the last thing you want to do is come out in the morning and find out half your wildlife has been eaten by the other half while stuck in a bucket.
Yeah. No, do not put buckets out. Despite Michelle, they're not like you, and they haven't got bicycles.
That's the reason. Yes. I actually just put food straight on the ground.
Yeah.
Safest.
Yeah. And that's absolutely fine.
I'm sure my local rats think that Christmas has come early, but there you go.
Fortunately, where we are now, we have, relatively speaking, very few, touches wood madly, rats, thank goodness. But we do have lots of mice, and we have house mice and wood mice. And
well, if my owls time it right, they can always have a snack of young rats.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, that was something I had the other day. The tawnies are courting round me.
Yes, here as well.
Yes. I mean, it's fantastic. So you will now actually be hearing what you call to wit to woo. Because to wit is ki-wit, that's the female, and woo, that's the male. So they're calling to each other, and they're getting together with a view to mating and producing some eggs come the turn of the year, or January.
Yes.
And so they're really for it. I had a whole parliament of them.
Brilliant.
We've got quite a lot of sycamores, all about 50 feet away. And the other night, and I got the window open because it wasn't blowing, And the place was just whoo, whip, whoo, whip, all night. Well, not all night, but for about an hour or two.
I think I have 3 or 4 pairs calling between the various bits of forest. I do occasionally get the treat of going out with the dogs late at night and having them right over my head, which is gorgeous.
I do too. And if I go out and go in the lane or go up the track, then I do. And it's really nice. I have to be ever so careful though, because there is no point in doing that if you've got a head torch on, not round here.
No.
Because they won't come close enough. But they do
I find if I can walk out and then turn the headlight off and wait.
Yeah.
It won't be long before somebody.
Yeah, and I've got a couple of trees. There's a couple of big oak trees down one of the tracks here. And I'll go out, find my way out there without breaking my neck, and then just stay there. And they come all around you. And it's the wrong season now, but earlier we had barn owls, 1 or 2 barn owls. So we're looking forward to that. So yeah, they can come along and snack on the shrews and the voles. We've got loads of voles, got bank voles and field voles. There may be water voles down in the stream, but I haven't
It's also, of course, a time of year when wildlife is fattening up for the winter.
Indeed.
Because a lot of these little animals are desperately trying to put fat on.
Yeah.
To carry them through either hibernation or semi-hibernation through the winter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have to get the suet balls out there.
Yeah, which I do all the time, particularly at this time of year.
I tend to put more out at this time of year. It's always 1 or 2 around, but this time of year they start going up to sort of 6 at a time.
Oh yeah.
No.
Yeah, they do.
They vanish.
And they're absolutely loving it. The other time I put them out is when the chicks have hatched. The chicks, because the parents are just desperate to keep stuffing those mouths. And I'd rather that they at least made it to be of a decent size for something to eat them if they're going to go, but maybe grow into being able to breed themselves. So yeah, the fat goes out, chick time and now time. And then I keep an eye on it all the way through the winter, because if we get really cold weather, or if there's been a lot of wind and they haven't been able to get out, they're going to, as soon as it stops, they're going to be on the feeders like mad.
I find here, because I have the barns, I can monitor how hungry the local sparrows are by how many have lined up with the chickens every morning and evening.
Yeah.
I put oats out, whole oats out for the poultry.
Yeah.
And quite often it's chicken, sparrow, right on the edge of the bowl.
I don't have any hens, so I can't see that, but I certainly do. So, and I don't know about you, but we have, there is sparrow feeding time, and there is finch feeding time, and there is tit feeding time, and those are the basic 3. We've got more small songbirds, but those are the sort of big flockers, and they stand aside for each other, and they all go at different times of day.
This is all very convenient and well organised of them.
Well, I hadn't realised it before. I had noticed it before, but we've got some very good viewing places for us where they can't see you, but you can sit and watch them. And so if you like to go there and sit for 10 minutes and see what's happening, and and so has Paul, we've actually seen the changeover.
Yes.
All of a sudden, all the sparrows are out and all the finches are in. And they seem to have got it sorted. You can almost sort of set your clock. Oh, it's sparrow time, Oh, it's finch time.
Puts a whole new meaning to that old term for dawn, which is sparrow fart.
Yes, indeed. Yes. I don't know whether people still use that, but we do around here. And certainly in Shropshire. So we shall all be doing things.
Yes.
With fire, with food, with alcohol, with my cat, with your dogs.
I might well have a couple of candles and pass the rabbit between them. You could do with purifying, couldn't you? All the help you can get.
I could. If it helps me, I'll have it. He's grown so much, Fiona.
He's actually weighs less today than he did yesterday, by 10 grams. But he's getting longer.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he can see, when I first sort of saw him, he was about the size of his head now.
Well, yes, but then when you first saw him, I think he was only about 11 or 12 days old.
Yeah, but
he's now nearly eight weeks.
He's looking very well at the moment.
Well, he's got his little problems.
Yeah, he has. But hopefully we're going to get there, and he's going to get a Samhain present, but it's actually going to be a couple of days late, isn't he?
He's going to get a friend.
Yes.
Because rabbits are social animals, and although he thinks I'm his mum, because he's never seen another adult rabbit, I've arranged to get a little mini lop down to keep him company, and her name is Emily Plunkett.
And she's absolutely gorgeous, so we shall look forward to seeing Emily.
She's not white. She's grey with pale grey with darker points. She's a blue point Himalayan.
Sounds awfully posh.
It's a bit like a Siamese cat, but rabbit shaped. You can follow me there. That.
Yeah, I'll tell Kellen that. She'll totally understand it. She won't. She'll just turn around and say, "It's a rabbit. I'll eat it."
Yeah, yes.
But there you go. So yes, we're going to be messing about with doing stuff on Saturday, and of course, hope everybody knows, but for the first time in 76 years, we have full moon, and it's a blue moon.
Yep.
Saturday, actually on Samhain. So
quite a special event.
Yeah, and hopefully it'll be clear enough to see it at least sometime during the night.
Yes.
But part of my celebration is definitely going to be going out and spending a few minutes with the moon outside.
And again, I'm going to lift a glass for her. It will be a toast to the full moon.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's such a special time, just on the liminal time, on the changeover.
Yeah.
We're getting this super moon.
Yes.
So do enjoy that as well.
Absolutely.
It'll be marvellous.
We won't see it again. Well, not in my lifetime.
Nope. Not unless I suddenly turn into being a 250-year-old person, which I don't think I want to do.
Life would get quite boring at that point.
I would imagine it would have got quite boring quite a while before then, but there you go. Anyway, so have a wonderful Samhain, everybody. The newsletter's gone out early scheduled, so it'll be there with you on Saturday.
Yep.
And if we can work up anything else to go on the Dear Trolls Tribe, we will, even if it's only a little wee something.
There will be something, yes.
There will be a little wee something at least. So
yes.
Take care, everybody.
Have a good time.
Yeah, indeed.